Okay, so I didn't actually plan on filming this, but I'm not doing anything else today, and the lighting's good, so here we are. For anybody who hasn't seen, Joann's is closed for good, and Michael's has purchased their intellectual property. When Joann's was open, they weren't just a store, they were a manufacturer, and they made their own fabric, they had their own brand. So all of those prints, anything they had that has any kind of trademark, Michael's now owns. Also, if you go to the Joann website, it redirects to Michael's now, and it says, "Welcome Joann's customers, yay!" So that's a thing. Am I surprised? No. I kind of figured that Michael's would start selling fabric. Did I think that they would start selling specifically Joann's fabrics? Not necessarily. I didn't really know what was going to happen to those items. I think that some of them, like Yaya Han, I think that went to Mood Fabrics. I think that's separate. So I didn't really have any guesses what was going to happen with the Joann's intellectual property. I guess I kind of thought it was just going to fizzle out and die. And I don't know why I would have thought that, because of course they're going to sell it. They're going to sell anything they can. So let's talk about what this means for us as the consumers. So on the positive side, anybody who was in the middle of a project with Joann's fabric or with Joann's yarns or anything from Joann's that is consumable and they didn't get enough of it, here's your chance. Now you can. Michael's has it, and they're going to be selling it online. They started selling fabric in some of their stores. They were kind of wishy-washy on whether they were going to spread it to all the stores, but I would wager that they probably are. So there's that. That's good for us if we needed more of a thing rather than it just being gone forever. It's also good in the sense that, as I said in my last video, if there was a Joann's near you, there was probably a Michael's near you too. So if you just lost your craft store, if it's like where I'm at, where it's like the only fabric store, now you have one. So I guess good. But I think you can tell that I'm not overly excited about this. And here's why. When Joann's went under, it was a low-key win. It was sad because it's the only fabric store around here, but it was an opportunity. Okay? So the internet is a great thing and an awful thing at the same time. And one of the ways it's a great thing is that it kind of leveled the playing field for a lot of small businesses and just people in general that would have otherwise had to be in the right place at the right time with the right opportunities. The internet has kind of made it so that's not necessarily the case anymore. And individuals from Timbuktu can become celebrities, even if they weren't born into a wealthy family and had all the opportunities to become famous. A small shop in the middle of nowhere that sells a really niche product can survive because of social media exposure. These are things that are available now in ways that individuals and small businesses can go up against corporate giants. When Joann's went under, that made me hopeful for small fabric shops to make a comeback. For shops that don't just sell a product, but teach classes and foster a community and bring people together. That's what I was hoping for. And I'm not saying that that isn't still going to happen for a couple of reasons that I'm going to get into. But with Michael's there, it's tough for smaller businesses to compete against what will probably be more inventory, definitely more exposure. They're gonna be able to have better hours than a small business, especially if a small business is just starting off. They're going to have more things they can offer. With Michael's, it's gonna be like a one-stop shopping like Joann's was, which honestly I think is a bad idea, but I digress. They have all of your craft supplies. It doesn't matter if you're baking a cake, tie-dyeing a t-shirt, sewing a dress, doing a fake floral arrangement. You can get all of that stuff at one place. Where a fabric shop, you're gonna get your stuff for your fabric, and that's pretty much it. Some of the people I talked to were like, oh, but Michael's is so expensive. And I get that they're more expensive than like Amazon, but you might be able to go to a smaller fabric shop and get better prices? Maybe, I don't know. Michael's still might be able to do better prices than a small shop, especially, as I said, a small shop just starting off. But they're going to have more to offer. It's gonna be hard for a smaller shop to compete with that. I'm gonna change the lighting. Okay. Wow. There's some things about this whole situation that I think are going to benefit those small fabric shops. For one thing, a lot of people attribute Joann's downfall to the fact that they're owned by an equity firm, and so is Michael's. So, we'll see how that plays out. They also don't have the classes or the community area or that same community type of feel that small fabric shops usually do. Maybe you've never been to the kind of store that I am envisioning and trying to project onto you, but we have a small independent yarn store. And when I went there was a table and some chairs, and there were just these women sitting there and knitting and talking. There was a community. Everybody knew one another. They were welcoming to me, who I had never been there. It wasn't just a place to buy yarn. It was, and I just heard this term for the first time the other day, a third space. A third space is the kind of place that you go not just to buy a product or service, it's the kind of place you go to hang out. And in this day and age, we're losing those, at least in the physical realm. We have plenty on the internet, and the internet is a great resource, but we are losing the social aspects IRL. That's what I was hoping for a fabric store. And not just here, although for myself, I would love that. I would love to have that in my area so I could go and meet other people that sew. But I wanted that to be a thing everywhere. I think that sewing is making a comeback, and I think that people are desperate for connection. That is something that the internet just cannot replicate as well as in the real world. And then on the flip side, the internet is also awful because they are a contributor to the reason small stores go under, because how can you compete with Amazon? You can't. Anyway, I didn't really script any of this out. I just figured I'd film something and let you know my thoughts. What do you think about the whole Michael's Joann intellectual property situation? What do you think of Michael's in general? I honestly didn't go there for a lot of things because the short end of it is I'm right next to a really big city and I hate going there, and that's where Michael's is. Joann's was on my side of the river, so I didn't have to go to Michael's. Now I'm probably gonna have to, and that sucks. I don't hate Michael's. I've never hated Michael's. I was an AC Moore girl, and then I was a Joann's girl. Definitely not a Hobby Lobby girl, so I guess now I'm a Michael's girl. Let me know, guys. What do you think?